Can you hear me? Hare Krishna devotees, can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhu.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Tato Jayamudire.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one must offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Today we will be looking at chapter 1, canto 4, verse 27. Na ati prasidat hridayah nati prasidat hridayah sarasvatayah tate suchau sarasvatyas tate suchau vitarkayan viviktastah vitarkayan viviktastha idam cha uvacha dharmavet idam chovacha dharmavet nati prasidat hridayah sarasvatyastate suchau vitarkayan viviktastha idam chovacha dharmavet nati prasidat hridayah sarasvatyastate suchau vitarkayan viviktastha idam chovacha dharmavet nati prasidat hridayah sarasvatyastate suchau vitarkayan viviktastha idam chovacha dharmavet
Nati prasida dridayah sarasvatyastate suchau vitarkayan viviktastha idam chovacha dharmavet
नाति प्रसीदादृदयः
नाति प्रसीददृदयः
सरस्वत्यास्तटेषु च
सरस्वत्यास्तटेषु च
वितर्कयान् विविक्तस्था
वितर्कयन् विविक्तस्था
इदं चोवाच धर्मवेत्
इदं चोवाच धर्मवेत्
नाति प्रसीदहृदयः
नाति प्रसीदहृदयः
सरस्वत्यास्तटेषु च
सरस्वत्यास्तटेषु च
वितर्कयन् विविक्तस्थ
वितर्कयन् विविक्तस्था
इदं चोवाच धर्मवेत्
इदं चोवाच धर्मवित्। माताजी।
नाति प्रसीददृढयः
नाति प्रसीदहृदयः
सरस्वत्यास्तटेषु च
सरस्वत्यास्तटेषु च
वितर्कयन् विविक्तस्ता
वितर्कयन् तजिक्तस्था
इदं चोवाच धर्मवेत्
idam chovacha dharmaved. Two from online. Any two can recite.
नाति प्रसीदादृढयः
Nati prasida dridayah
सरस्वत्यस्ततेषु च
sarasvatyastatesu cha
वितर्कयन् विविक्तस्था
vitarkayan viviktastha
इदं चोवाच धर्मवेत्
idam chovacha dharmaved. One more.
नाति प्रसीदहृदयः
Nati prasida dridayah
सरस्वत्यास्तटेषु च
sarasvatyastatesu cha
वितर्कयान् विविक्तस्था
vitarkayan viviktastha
इदं चोवाच धर्मवेत्
idam chovacha dharmaved. Na not ati prasadit prasidat ati prasidat
अति प्रसीदात्
very much satisfied hridayah at heart
अर्थात्
sarasvatya of the river Saraswati tate on the bank of suchau being purified vitarkayan having considered viviktastha situated in a lonely place idam cha also this uvacha said dharmaved one who knows that what religion is.
one who knows what religion is.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Thus the sage, being dissatisfied at heart, at once began to reflect, because he knew the essence of religion, and he said within himself. Translation with repetition. Thus the sage,
Thus the sage,
being dissatisfied at heart,
being dissatisfied at heart,
at once began to reflect,
at once began to reflect,
because
because
he knew the essence of religion,
he knew the essence of religion,
and he said within himself.
and he said within himself.
Purport. The sage began to search out the cause of not being satisfied at heart. Perfection is never attained until one is satisfied at heart. This satisfaction of heart has to be searched out beyond matter. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are in the last section of this chapter, very close towards the end, and as the title of the chapter goes, the appearance of Sri Narada in some ways the chapter is coming closer to the reason why Sri Narada appears, why Naraji appears. And this is in continuation with the previous verse, where the dissatisfaction experienced by Vyasadeva is being described. Here, in this verse, similar to the previous verse, it is being described here, na ati prasidat. Ati prasidat. He is not, na means not, and ati prasidat means not very much satisfied. And where is he not satisfied? He is not satisfied at the heart, hridayaha. Now, this is a very interesting aspect to be considered. Even last week we saw as how one can find satisfaction, or how one can find satisfaction. Now, here we can see that the position of Vyasadeva is very interesting, because he is no ordinary person. He is dharmavit, one who knows what religion is, and he is being purified on the banks of on the banks of river Saraswati, and situated alone, contemplating, and he is still not satisfied. And as we will see further, now he is thinking for himself as, what is this? Why is this happening, or what is the cause of this? So this is a very important aspect, that to be inquisitive about relevant inquiries. As we saw even in the last class, there are so many inquiries that were being made, but until unless the inquiries were relevant, they do not satisfy the heart. So here, at once it is being said, Vyasadeva began to reflect. Now, this is a very important principle. Wherever there is something which is away from what it should be, an intelligent man questions it. An intelligent man thinks about it and tries to understand what is the cause of it and how can one rectify that. Because this is a symptom of intelligence, to be able to discriminate which is proper, which is improper, and if it is improper, how do we make it proper. So here it is also important to know, because most often people do not think to correct. One of the reasons being not knowing that there is something known as what is correct, and because of which people are often not being sure of what is correct. They think whatever is happening, that is fine, or whatever is accepted in the society, that is fine. But here we have to see that Vyasadeva, reflection is also, Prabhupada is writing, because he knew the essence of religion. So one of the essence of religion is that in, I think 1.1.11, Srila Prabhupada mentions that one of the essence of religion is to help find the soul the required satisfaction it wants. So the Prabhupada mentions that there are different parts of religions based upon different types of people, and therefore there are different types of revealed scriptures for different classes of people, so that they can make progress in the direction of finding satisfaction of the self. So this is very important, that until unless we do not have knowledge, we will not even reflect, we will not even know that there is something is wrong, something is missing, something is not appropriate. So knowledge is one very important aspect that one should develop, so as to realize and reflect appropriately, reflect the right questions. Otherwise, the reflection is also going on, but something which is unwanted, something which is not necessary, and that does not cure the disease of dissatisfaction at heart. So here, this process of reflection is something being emphasized, that how Vyasadeva began to reflect upon his dissatisfaction at heart. So today we will try to look some more aspects of this verse. So the question may come, why does one become dissatisfied at heart? Why one is not satisfied? So one way to look at this is that there are necessities of life. And as there are necessities of life, fulfillment of those necessities enable one to be satisfied. Now, the basic necessities one immediately thinks of, a general man thinks of the necessities of the senses. So someone thinks, I need food, I need water, I need some nice place to see. If I'm having good food, good clothes, I want to go and visit some nice beautiful place, I want to see it, because that gives me some sort of satisfaction. And so people try to engage fulfilling the necessities of the senses to become satisfied. So this is why the material civilization is growing progressively, because there is a hope that in this fulfillment of your material necessities, you will find the satisfaction of the heart. But people realize that, especially young kids, they also see that I have material comforts, but then they see still we are not satisfied. There is something more to do. So people develop friendships. People develop relationships, because beyond the senses there is mind. Mind also needs some sort of satisfaction. So people tend to develop different relationships, different friendships, and try to satisfy them in different ways. And therefore, one engages in different sorts of relationship service so that at least the mind is satisfied. And beyond that, people are also interested in today, especially there is social media, so anyone and everyone is free to post anything. So everyone thinks that my opinion matters. And when my opinion matters, that gives a great satisfaction. So people try to post on any subject, any topic that they like, let me give my opinion. And when the opinion is praised by people, there is a certain sense of satisfaction, the intellectual satisfaction. Oh, my solution to the problem is the best. So therefore people go on giving different solutions to different problems, and they, especially today, one people say they are right wing, one say they are left wing, someone says some other wing. There are different wings of people who are trying to give their solutions to the world so that they become satisfied, and they hope that the others will become satisfied. Then there is this false ego, which requires name, fame, and so many other things. So people are also trying different ways and means by which one can boost their ego, false ego, and hoping that they will become satisfied. But it is important to note that in spite of doing all these things, still the real satisfaction at the heart is not coming to the people. There is still something which is grossly missing, and therefore Prabhupada gives in his various classes, he talks about hippie movement, gives example of hippie movement. So Prabhupada says that these young people, the hippies, many of them are coming from good families, and they have enough necessities of life in terms of material necessities. But that alone is not helping them to be satisfied. That alone is not helping to satisfy. Prabhupada gives this example of being in America. Being in America, Prabhupada says, unlike other countries, you have more necessities of material necessities fulfilled. You have nice access to food, roads, connectivity, and more comfortable life. There is more freedom, and so many other things. So Prabhupada says, but still the young people of America are dissatisfied, and therefore they are giving up their material homes. They are giving up, they are rebelling against the system because they are finding there is a deficiency in the material life. So one important point to note is that any of the little satisfaction one finds from satisfying the material necessities do not completely satisfy the self, completely satisfy the heart. So this misconception of how to find satisfaction in life is one of the biggest illusion in the world. And therefore it is very important to carefully reflect upon why after so many years of my life, so much endeavor, there is still dissatisfaction. Where is the missing link? What is that is not happening? So Prabhupada also gives the example. Prabhupada quotes Nate vidu swardagatim hi Vishnu durashaya hi bahirarthamanina. So Prabhupada states this example in this connection, stating that Nate vidu swardagatim hi Vishnu. People do not know, as we were also seeing yesterday's class, that the goal is Krishna or Vishnu. Not knowing the goal, one becomes perplexed. One tries to endeavors to find satisfaction in so many different places. And not knowing that the real happiness and satisfaction is in realizing Krishna or Vishnu, people are enamored by the external energy. Bahirardha hi manina. So, bahir, external, and so people are enamored by the external necessities to find satisfaction, to find happiness. And that is never possible. This should be a very clear principle in our mind. It should be very clear that any sort of material, external comfort or necessities that we are trying to amass and fulfill to the completeness is not the factor to make us completely satisfied at the heart. So the reasons here is that material platform necessities alone do not satisfy one's heart. Now the question may come, okay, we understand materialists are of this kind. Now the question may come, we are devotees. We are also unsatisfied sometimes. And sometimes we're in the beginning of devotional service, the question, how do you know that someone who's not outside is not satisfied? We look that he is also doing very well. He is also having nice family. He is also taking nice photos. He is posting everywhere. He is traveling. So there is a certain conception of that someone else is more satisfied. Or sometimes even without comparison, one feels some sort of unsatisfaction. Now, what could be the reason for this? So, one of the primary reasons why there is dissatisfaction is because of anarthas. So, anarthas are the unwanted things. So, these anarthas are which is not wanted in bhakti when it is present. Then what happens is that now the bhakti is mixed. The unalloyed devotion is meant to satisfy one completely, as we saw in the last Bhagavatam class. Ahetuki apratihata, unmotivated and uninterrupted. If the quality of devotional service is of the nature uninterrupted and unmotivated by any external factors, then one is to find the complete satisfaction of the soul. But in the neophyte stage of devotion, one comes with so many reasons of carrying out the action of bhakti. So sometimes it is the gross feeling of getting something, being in the society of people. So some people come to temple so that I can build some social network. Some people comes because there is some other benefit. Maybe I can publicize my events with these people. Maybe I can take some benefit of the people whom they know. Maybe I can get some more information from these people. So there are one kind of people who appearingly come as devotees, but the motivation is not to be a devotee, but there is something else. And on the other hand, someone who is starting, but still one is not able to overcome the two aspects of consciousness, that is, lording over and enjoying independently. So, when there is these principles of trying to control, because these are the impurities of our consciousness. So when we do devotional service, we also try to imply this impure state of consciousness in devotional service, and therefore the unmotivated factor goes away. And because the unmotivated factor goes away, uninterrupted service also does not take place. So it is important to recognize that what are the anarthas and how they are preventing, because one of the biggest hindrance in devotional service is the controlling nature. Because of controlling nature, what we are trying to do is we are trying to control something which we cannot control. And when we are controlling something which we cannot control, or which we are not authorized to control, immediately there is an entanglement in something unwanted. And that immediately creates a disturbance both within and outside, and this state of being is not very helpful for one to peacefully practice a devotional life. So it is very important to note, because of the nature of controlling, what we do is we do aparadhas. We do not treat another devotees properly. We do not treat Guru properly. We do not treat Nama properly, and thereby we commit offenses. And when there are offenses, that obstructs our devotional progress. So this aparadhas are very, very important aspects, because of which we do not make progress, and when we do not make sufficient progress, we still do not find complete satisfaction. And second thing is to enjoy independently, is to gain something personally for some reason or the other through the name, in the name of Krishna consciousness. So this independent enjoyment, okay, I will come and do some service so that I can grab some sort of an enjoyment, either gross or sarva. So the idea is still to grab something for me, if not for me, for my son, for my daughter, for my family, or some extended self. So when these are the aspects which are governing the devotional service, it is not in its pure state. So this is a very important principle. Now, to compare the satisfaction of devotees and non-devotees, it is important to note that the Nectar of Devotion preface gives a wonderful example. Prabhupada wonderfully demonstrates, writes there about the nature of the satisfaction of the heart and how it is achieved. So we'll just go there. Before that, now, how devotees can overcome the dissatisfaction? Maybe I'll cover that first. So Prabhupada mentions there that everyone is doing some sort of service or the other service. Either on the material platform or on the spiritual platform, everyone is rendering some service. Now, what is the impetus for service? The impetus for service is the enjoyment that one derives from the service. So, just like we see in the example of Ajamila, he was taking care of his son so nicely. Please come, please eat, please sit here. So, he is taking care, so that there is the service that Ajamila was giving to his son, there is a certain enjoyment that he is receiving from the relationship of his son. Similarly, everyone in the material world is working for someone or the other, trying to satisfy either the boss, the family, wife, husband, children, extended family, or some community, and so on and so forth. So there is some service is being done, the impetus being that there is some satisfaction, there is some enjoyment for myself. So Prabhupada says, basically, in one sense, it is the satisfaction of one's own senses. That is what is driving one to serve in the material platform, because as soon as that gain of enjoyment of one's senses is taken away, one becomes disgusted and wants to leave that service. And Prabhupada therefore says, because they are not completely satisfied, they follow this principle of bhoga and tyaga. That means they try to serve for a few days and they want something else. Saturday and Sunday we'll go to party, we'll go to some other place, we'll do something else. Because it is not completely satisfying, there is this principle of bhoga and tyaga. So material happiness, material satisfaction, material service means the principle of bhoga and tyaga. There is no steadiness. And this is a clear principle of being dissatisfied. And therefore, devotees should be assured that for sure, people who are not Krishna conscious, they can be completely satisfied. There can be a degree of difference depending upon the mode in which people are, but in general, no one can be completely satisfied at heart without being a pure devotee of the Lord, without being a sincere servant of a pure devotee of the Lord. So, this is a very important principle to note, that sometimes one may get carried away thinking that, oh, someone else is more satisfied, I am struggling more. I am getting scolding here, I am getting scolding there, oh, maybe someone they are living very happily. No, it's not true. They cannot experience the rasa of the heart, which is the heart is desiring for. So, noting this, that only devotees can be satisfied. Now the question comes, how can one overcome dissatisfaction and come towards satisfaction? So, one of the important So, one of the principles that Vyasadeva is offering here is to become reflective. Now, reflection is very important because, as we saw, that anarthas, or there are sometimes weeds that grow along with the bhakti creeper. So sometimes it is very difficult to understand whether am I growing my weeds or am I growing the bhakti lata, because they look very similar. So it's very difficult sometimes to recognize, am I doing really devotional service, or there is puja, labha, pratishtha, there is something else that I am growing. Oh, I am now a devotee, so let me gain some popularity by one way or the other. Because as Prabhupada says, that mundane scholars, they use the name of Krishna because they cannot achieve the thing that they want to achieve. So they use the name of Krishna and Bhagavad Gita to propagate their own interests, because they are using their self-interest in the name of Bhagavad Gita, in the name of so-called devotion. So similarly, sometimes it is quite possible that one is not actually deriving the appropriate gain that one can have from devotional service, but rather something else. Because as we saw, the aim is very important, because without the aim being perfect or clear, the path that one takes becomes different. So it should be very clear, and this clarity sometimes we may miss out in the journey. And therefore this principle of reflection is very important, because this aspect of reflection, introspection, contemplation helps us to see, am I in the same and the right trajectory towards the right destination, or is there a diversion in the path? Because as we know, sometimes like I was going with another devotee to some other place, and he immediately put beautiful places nearby. So immediately it showed one lake, one forest, and something, and then this devotee was thinking, should I go there, should I go here, should I go there? So there are so many diversions, and there are so many influences that may happen on the way, that we may actually forget the goal and the path that we are supposed to take. And therefore being reflective helps us to keep us grounded on the right trajectory and the right path. Now, it is also possible that sometimes this aspect of reflection is not very easy. In fact, in various places it is said only a good soul can reflect upon. Only a very highly elevated soul can repent upon. So it is mentioned sometimes devotees also commit mistake, but they are reflective. They are repenting. They think, oh, I made a mistake, let me correct it. But when one is not reflective, one thinks, oh, everything is Krishna consciousness. Anything and everything in Krishna consciousness is fine. Any whimsical act which is not supported by Guru and Shastra and Sadhu, I can perform. Because there is no amount of reflection to think whether is it right, is it giving the right benefit, is it allowed within the framework of the system that is provided by Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. If that is not there, then one gets again entangled in the material reactions. One is acting on one's own interests of false ego. So then one misses out the mercy of the Supreme Lord. One misses out the direction of the Supreme Lord, and in that case, one will not able to achieve what one wants, but one ends up in various sorts of miseries. Because one may think by some way or the other, I may get what I want, but one must know one is not independent. The laws of the material nature, the Lord as Paramatma is watching. And the Kala is such a powerful force that when one tries to do things with false ego and in a non-authorized, non-appropriate way, then the Kala brings in such kind of results. In spite of one's great intelligence, endeavor, one may try to fix things, try to do something, but it may not be possible to achieve the desired goal. And one may go far and far off from the desired path. So reflection is very important, but as just said, the reflection sometimes is very difficult, especially in this age of passion and in this age of the need to get results so fast. People tend to not to be reflective, because the moment you think reflective, people think that time is lost. People think in that time I can gain something else. So one of the important aspects is Vaishnava association. This association helps us to reflect what is there inside us, because sometimes we become blinded to our own anarthas, our own misgivings. So it is important that being in the community, one can get some reflection. What am I doing? Where am I going? Where am I wrong? Now, one may say that I am in the association, but I never get any reflection from other devotees. Why is that? Now, not anyone tells me how I should improve. Now, the reason for that is the second principle of receptiveness. Because more than us, sometimes the devotees who are more elevated, they can clearly see through us. And especially Guru and Krishna, who are able to see our all things, they can act through other devotees and help us understand what we are. But the problem lies in the receptiveness. Guru wants to give us, Srila Prabhupada wants to give us the highest perfection of life. And he has created a system for one to achieve that in completeness. But the problem lies in the receptiveness of the disciple. So two important things: a potent spiritual master and a receptive, sincere disciple. So Srila Prabhupada is completely potent to give the highest perfection of life. But if the disciple is not receptive, one is not able to get what the Srila Prabhupada, the essence of religion, the essence of the highest perfection of human life, which Srila Prabhupada is trying to give, one may not get. And similarly, one may not get sufficient reflection as seen by the devotees upon one's own action until unless one is not receptive. Reception helps one prevent so many problems. So it is very important in the Vaishnava community to have proper etiquettes with the devotees. So when there are proper etiquettes, the channel of reception opens. If there is a false way of dealings with some sort of false ego driving one, then what happens? The chain of reception breaks. Then one's own independent way, one can try to do something, but that is not sufficient, because as Mahaprabhu says, when there are large kusha grass in the lake, it dries up the water. of the lake. Similarly, when we are not receptive, the weeds start growing and they start taking away the water of the bhakti. And then our reflection is anyway weak. In that case, lack of reception makes it even more dry, the bhakti lata creeper. And then one employs material means and ways to find satisfaction. One finds material ways and means to make one's position stable, rather than developing a menial servant attitude. Receptiveness means to develop the attitude of menial servant, because that is what is the acharyas are looking, the guru is looking for. Because when one develops the right attitude of service, the guru transmits the knowledge from heart to heart. Divya Gyan Hite Prakashito. The knowledge is revealed inside the heart. That is the only process. There is no other process to make advancement in spiritual life without the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Jasya prasadat bhagavad prasado. Only if one satisfies the supreme spiritual master. Spiritual master's mercy is actually Krishna's mercy. And Krishna sends a spiritual master to guide us. So in fact, we should be very much concerned and become receptive. What are the desires? What are the instructions of the spiritual master? And to develop, that instructions become revealed when one develops the right service attitude. If the right service attitude is not there, the so-called big service, small service is of no importance. Because in material world, people are able to achieve so many things sometimes. But what they are not able to achieve is to develop a menial servant attitude. Because until unless one does not develop the attitude of menial servant, one cannot become Krishna and Nityadas. So as long as one does not develop that conception or that understanding that I am eternal servant and Krishna is the eternal master, and it is through the spiritual master, by following his instructions, by serving him sincerely, that I can make progress in serving the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada also gives another example, that sometimes people try to please Krishna directly. So Prabhupada says that just like in an office, if you are a clerk, you please the head clerk or the head of the department, and if he is pleased, then the boss is also pleased. So similarly, it is very important, Prabhupada says, that the authority, that the immediate representative of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, he has to be pleased. So it is very important for us to see that are the superior Vaishnavas being pleased with us? Is Guru pleased with our attitude? Are we developing the right attitude of service? Because when the right attitude of service is developed, then all necessities, all knowledge, everything falls upon. But when there is no right attitude, all things that appear for one to make progress is the material necessities. In fact, as we were reading Prabhupada Lilamrita, the devotees sincerely wanted to please Srila Prabhupada and went all over to England, and with no place to stay. All devotees, three family devotees are in 3 different parts of London, and their only objective is to satisfy Srila Prabhupada. And the sincere endeavor, when they put with no material necessities around them, with bare basic minimum necessities that they were having, but because of their sincere endeavor, following under and doing devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master. In the name of satisfaction, it is not that one does not follow the direction of the spiritual master. It is very important to follow the direction of the superior authorities, direction of the spiritual master. And in that context, when one works, in that framework when one works, one finds the reciprocation of Guru and Krishna. One finds the bhakti rasa. It is the satisfaction of the spiritual master which makes which actually leads to the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And it is through that process that one can experience bhakti rasa. And it is that bhakti rasa which is satisfying to the soul. No other aspect can satisfy the soul. So what Krishna consciousness movement is giving is this highest essence of religion to satisfy the soul completely. And Prabhupada uses this word complete satisfaction in many, many places, not just the word satisfaction. Complete satisfaction. So, complete satisfaction is possible within the instructions and the Institute of Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes people think, oh, I will go somewhere else. I will find some other temple. I will find something else. I will find something else. Nothing is required. Everything what is required is given here. The faith, the receptiveness, the reflectiveness to sincerely follow the instructions, not to concoct. Srila Prabhupada says, at this old age, I tried to establish this ISKCON movement because it is meant for the satisfaction of my spiritual master. My spiritual master wanted it, and therefore he sent his disciples to the Western world, but they were not successful. But at this age, I am just making another humble attempt so as to satisfy my spiritual master. This satisfaction of the spiritual master is the key to success in spiritual life and beyond. Srila Prabhupada worked day and night writing the books because that gave satisfaction to his spiritual master. So it is a simple principle to understand the desires of the spiritual master and to work in the right earnest. It is not the material calculation that how many books would I be able to sell if I write so many books at this age. No. One may do a lot of things, but the simple life is what pleases spiritual master, I do it. 100% sincerely. And Srila Prabhupada has given enough instructions. It's only for us to become receptive. And as we become receptive and qualified, then Srila Prabhupada will give us instructions for more service. Service is not obtained by force. Service is obtained by the right attitude. It is given. Artificially one may try to take services, but it will not last. So, in order to satisfy our soul, it is very important to look for the satisfaction of the spiritual master and satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. And it is very important to also the name Govinda, Rishikesha are quite significant, because Govinda, one who gives pleasure to senses or cows. So it is only by satisfying the Supreme Lord that we can obtain true pleasure and true satisfaction. Only by serving Rishikesha, the master of the senses can actually perform their rightful duty. And without being, as we saw, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharma. Dharma is to engage in devotional service. The soul, the satisfaction of the heart comes only on the spiritual platform. No other way. And therefore we must recognize the importance of the spiritual path. As most often people think there are other ways to become satisfied. It is illusion. It is not possible. Therefore, one must see the signs of satisfaction. And in the association of devotees, one takes further instructions and move further and try to please the spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada engaged devotees in various ways. In one place, Prabhupada engages one Mataji to do typing. She said, I just want to chant. Prabhupada said, no, this is not different from serving Krishna. This is not different. This is also Krishna Kirtana only. So, because if there is no guidance, there is no instruction, we become sometimes extremes. We concoct our own things. Like there was one devotee who was thinking, I will just chant in one corner. Prabhupada said he will not last for long. So sometimes we concoct, we think our own ways of what makes us progressive or what helps us. But it is very important to always remain under the direction and sincerely develop the right attitude of service, and that will bring satisfaction to the spiritual master. And when spiritual master is pleased, Supreme Lord is pleased, and as water poured to the roots nourishes the entire plant, satisfaction of Guru brings and Krishna brings satisfaction to us. So this is something very important, and as we see in the purport, Prabhupada says that perfection is never attained until one is satisfied at heart, and this is very important to note. So this is in a couple of places it's mentioned that satisfaction of the soul is the essence of religion, and the different paths are meant to achieve this. So it is very important we recognize this important path that we are receiving from Srila Prabhupada, the path of how to do devotional service practically, and engage sincerely and progress further to find the satisfaction of the soul. I'll stop here and see if there any one comment. As some of you might be aware that there is Kirtan Mela going on, so I request all the devotees to join at 10 a.m. EST. I think the link is already posted in the group, and thank you all for joining. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanand.
Hri Hri Bol.
Harimol.
So we will be doing some testing. If you you can please drop off this camera and video. It will be on for some more time. Just others to drop off. Doesn't go. Okay, I'll stop.